Okay, how's everybody doing tonight? Good, good. Welcome to the Chatterbox, a legend among places in Indianapolis. This is a wonderful place. Sit back, get comfortable. We're going to have some good poetry going on for you. First, we're going to get the band going back here. Three gentlemen that are just amazing. So we're going to let them take you into this for a couple minutes. We're going to get up and we're going to do some wonderful poetry. Sit back, relax, have a great time. Ready to hear some poetry? Yeah! By all of us. Tonight we are here gathered to pay tribute to one of Indianapolis' most wonderful voices that the city has ever had the pleasure to have in here. His name is Etheridge Knight. His words have really set the bar for poetry in this city, and it's just incredible. So we're here to pay tribute to him. We have an all-star lineup of poets taking part in this. This is amazing. We've got a wonderful backing of musicians here. Sit back. This is going to be a lot of fun. My name is Jason Ammerman. I will be taking you on this journey. I love to say that, taking you on this happy journey. And it's a real honor for me to have these wonderful poets in here and paying tribute to such a wonderful man. So, sit back, we're going to get this going. I'm going to open it up with a piece called Letter to a Poet, and it's for Etheridge. The partition that is there is thin ice. I feel my fist balling up. I am angry that when I look into a mirror, your face is not there to look back. Sharing the same path as poets, the words becoming a little more concrete when I hear that you were once human with feelings, a heartbeat. I pray that upon these sidewalks shared at different times, your spirit would be there, breathing the same air that I breathe, thinking the same thoughts that I would think. Escape on the lam with a twitch, a need, a yin for the next fix of words. And now I'm looking for a way to say thank you. From humble beginnings, never mind the cliches, passed from one generation to the next, reflexive attitudes. He is my friend, was my friend, my enemy. Mine is of simplicity. Remember Korea. And I'm finding a way to justify all of this. On a side note, my dog circles around looking for a spot to pick up, and I am reminded of first impressions, the cheat in not getting one from you. But we are celebrating this evening. I have just returned from the hospital for the poetically insane, and I ain't taking your shit anymore from beyond the grave. This ghost that visits me late in the evening, the mosquitoes dive bombing on his skin, softened with sensitivity. I am angry that God could be so selfish as to take you away from us. I am angry that you could be so selfish as to go without any concern that our words may not be able to carry you on. Today, the courtrooms are underground poetry readings, and tomorrow they will be graveyards where we will tend with flowers and tears and pathetic games of hide and seek, for we will be children again, your children, using the broken backs of soldiers to carry on a legacy that wasn't ours to carry. And we will do it because of you. We will do it because of the fire in the pits of our stomachs, pushing up the acid of protest to spew across the concrete sidewalks of Mass Ave. We are here now. We are here now, much like your spirit. A toast to you for all that you've done.
Good evening.
Hey.
Good evening.
Hello.
All right.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Good.
How's everybody?
We're great.
Good. You know, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the family of the late master poet Etheridge Knight. You know, it's just an honor and a privilege, and it feels good. If you were standing up here just to see how all of you look to me from up here, we are really and truly honored, along with the Etheridge Knight Inks board. And we'd like to say thank you to the Chatterbox for welcoming us and letting it be for one of the first tributes, and Jason and Norbert and John and everybody that worked so hard to make this occasion happen. It's an experience, and you're part of history, and you know, it's nothing like making history. We're going to be in somebody's history book with this one. But, and to see Carl and Larry and Peter back here, and to just know how Etheridge just loved to dance, and Carl be playing and Larry be playing, and Etheridge be just the dancing. And he loved to dance, and he loved, and I'm glad to see that they're here. So I'm going to kick off with a poem of called Genesis 1. The skin of my poem may be green, yes, and sometimes wrinkled or worn. The snake shape of my song may cause the heel of Adam and Eve to bleed. Split my skin with the rock of Lobo as the rock of Moses. My poems love you. Thank you.
All right.
It sounds good. This tribute to Etheridge, I was looking through a selection of his poems. Excuse me. In this, I was looking through selections of his poems. One of the was a little prose paragraph, answers to questions asked after a reading, and there's a little quote in there I would like to read. You have to be telling people essentially, I love you, or you have no basis for your art. So this first poem I'll read is a poem by Etheridge, and I'll follow it with a little poem of my own that sort of follows his poem.
Wait, we need more volume.
Okay.
Thank you. We need to hear that.
Yeah, well, I'm a bitch.
Is that,
All right.
how's that? Whoops.
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
That sounds good. I hope it's not too loud. The poem I was going to read by Etheridge is the one, the prison poem, He Sees Through Stone. He sees through stone. He has the secret eyes, this old black one, who under prison skies sits pressed by the sun against the western wall, his pipe between purple gums. The years fall like overripe plums, bursting red flesh on the dark earth. His time is not my time, but I have known him in a time gone. He led me trembling cold into the dark forest, taught me the secret rites to take a woman, to be true to my brothers, to make my spear drink the blood of my enemies. Now black cats circle him, flash white teeth, snarl at the air, mashing green grass beneath shining muscles, ears peeling his words. He smiles. He knows the hunt, the enemy. He has the secret eyes. He sees through stone. This is a poem of my own, talking about seeing through things. This is called X-Ray Vision. It's for Etheridge and I. He saw it all through stone, through razor wire, through delicate flesh around the bones, his own skin like a wall where he knew what to keep out and what to leave in. He found it inside the thesaurus of his own distress, the answering passion of women, the warmth of friends. He saw it all, even behind the list of problems he never solved, as there were so few places where things could stop and something new begin. Yet he was well beyond us, above and through the barricades, our bigoted wills where his light penetrated the shadows. He radiated like a star, the pain of love, his gift of love. Thank you.
Hello. I want to thank you for this great legacy that you continue, and I am so grateful and honored to be a part of this tribute. I praise God for being here, and I thank the family for keeping the legacy alive, because that's what it's about. For sure, for sure. Like Jason said, my family grew up. You know, I'm a Jones, and my father grew up with Mr. Knight, and my father calls him Junior. So my father calls him Junior, and he's supposed to be here. So hopefully he'll get here before the end. But Reginald Jones is my father, and they grew up together. And when the first time that I met Mama Ife, I walked into her house and I said, I feel like I'm at home. You want me washing dishes? And so I'm just honored to God for being here, and I thank the Lord for this tribute that we're doing tonight. I am going to read a poem from Etheridge from the Belly Song book, and it's called This Poem. And then I'm going to read a poem that I wrote in essence, and the poem that I wrote is about the poem that I wrote is called For Black Women Who Contemplate Abortion. But the poem is deeper than that. It's not saying that that's not deep enough. But the poem that I wrote embraces where I come from. And that's what Junior, if I may, he did. He embraced where he came from, his people, his heritage, his legacy, what he continued. And so that's why I wrote the poem that I wrote. So this poem that I'm reading now is entitled This Poem from Belly Song. This poem is for you. This poem is to inform you. This poem is for you to listen to. Who you are, where you at. This poem is to pull your coat to who your enemy is and where he's at. This poem is for all the black mothers, wet-eyed and wearied, watching their children die young, cut down by white America like young roses, broken in a hailstorm. This poem is for all the black brothers dead and dying in Vietnam when they should be marching on the streets of Birmingham. This poem is for you. This poem is to comfort you. This poem is to help you out of bed in the morning when it's cold and the day's work is hard. This poem is to soothe you when your woman is gone and you all alone. This poem is to help you to be a man now, move you to freedom now. This poem is for the junkies nodding 125th Street. This poem is for the whores walking on Bill Street. This poem is for the brothers in the factories at Ford, Chrysler, and General Motors. This poem is for the sisters typing, nursing, cooking, teaching, and standing on assembly lines. This poem is for you. This poem is a love poem to you.
All right.
Etheridge Knight's Belly Song, this poem. Great.
Hey, Tasha.
Yes.
Say you do the Write Me project.
Yes.
You gotta mention that.
Okay.
People should hear about that.
Okay, I am an instructor of the Write Me Project, and the Write Me Project is a group of students aged 15 to 22, and my children, along with me, are part of a society or a culture who have been, in some way or another, directly affected by the incarceration system. Whether we have been incarcerated ourselves, or our parents, or our loved ones, or our guardian, and my job is to teach them their voice and to give them a platform to use their voice. And what I have done, along with AIM, I've connected with AIM, and I got this wonderful group of children who have written an anthology, and I published that anthology. And I think there's about 70 poems in that book. The book is called Write On, W-R-I-T-E, Writing, R-I-G-H-T, Society's Ills Through Writing, play on words, obviously. So, yeah, great.
They won the prize.
Yes, we did. We won. We
First
won
prize.
first prize for the poetry contest.
All
You know,
right.
Tasha Jones and the Write Me Project took that first place home. And so this year we're trying to do, we might enter again, you know, but these kids are wonderful kids. And like I said, they're 15 years old to 22 years old, and they have this wonderful voice. And sometimes we as society displace people who have been incarcerated, so we do not listen to them clearly. And this book gives them a chance to write and express and be who they were born to be. And so just like Etheridge, they get a second chance to write. And he said that. He said, when I was in the war, narcotics revived me. When I was in prison, poems revived me. And so these kids got that chance for poems, writings, poetry, singing, whatever it is to revive them. They have become one, and their writing becomes one with themselves. So the book is called Write On, and I am the instructor, and I am TashaJones.com. Sure, TashaJones.com. So yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Amen. Yep. So that's what it is. So again, check the website and feel free to donate, purchase, or do whatever. All right, this poem is that I wrote again. It's called For Black Women Who Contemplate Abortion. And the poem is long, and I want y'all to ride with me because it's a ride, for sure, you know. So here we go. You better remember where you came from. She encompassed the right side of the hospital bed and climbed from the perpendicular and rested against my strong side and said, "You need remember where you came from." She reached back into 1931, and while I was gallivanting in my space, wondering who'd I like to meet, she reminded me that I had already met her 75 years ago to the date she was born, in a small city called Nutbush, Tennessee, with no proper relation to anime, although they share the same maiden name, Bullock. She had dreams of being, and that was enough. By the time she was 13, she had already worked 13, picking cotton in fields that continued like bodies of waters, with songs that held melodies sweet, words that were waiting to be canvassed like black Republicans in swing state. Swing, that's what she vowed her words would do, and I had her running through my veins. Her blood enthralled me. It positioned me to be more than I expected. 1945, she moved her heart to Brownsville. The city became her Disney, and it was there that she wanted to be buried, on her land. It was there that her lover taught her how to write her name in their land. It was there that she learned the meaning of free, and I am the legacy of that love and the fire in that revolution. 1947, the story begins. The 16-year-old lover of freedom birthed their first revolution, and for the next 22 years, she would birth nations. 47, Betty. 49, Ida. 50, Annie. 52, Bernita. 53, Doris. 57, Kay Elaine. 60, Gwendolyn. 61, Yvonne. 62, Joyce. 64, Kenneth. 65, Dwight. 67, Lisa. 69, Kimberly. 13 total. One relocation to the north in the summer of 57. One scar from her elbow, from her funny bone to her index finger, with nothing funny about it. 3 strikes that prevented her from returning to her land, the acres that she had paid for with her sweat and love, the acres that the revolution began on. Remember the summer of 57? Strike 1, teaching 2 black children the man's language. Strike 2, 47, Betty, and 49, Ida, taking turns reading stories to their mother in broad daylight while she picks the man's cotton for them. Strike 3, protecting what was rightfully hers, with 2 children by her side, now 10 and 8, and her eyes firmly set on one sorry, sexually abnormal piece of a man standing directly in front of her, caressing the face and neck of an 8-year-old girl. She politely says, "Mister, every day I give you what belongs to you. Although you cheat me, I do not cheat you. Remove your hands from my daughter. She is not yours. She belongs to me." And with a sly grin, he leaned back on his left foot and shoulders proudly perching. He said, "Nigga, whatever is on my land is mine." Remember the summer of 57? It was a very good year. She clutched her womb and murmured in her native tongue, "Bimme, soke, ninu, abanuja, mi, bimme, soke, ninu, abamuja, mi, bimme, soke, ninu, abamuja, bobo, mi." My God, hold the hands of my sorrow, but today I gotta fight. Abba, may I pursue. Holy Spirit be my God. Ministering angels surround me. Boom, boom, I need you to join in the fight. Lita, Eskimo, Gertie, Team, Mary, Ariola, Sojourner, Harriet, oh Harriet, I said Harriet. Mister, take your hands off my daughter. 2 shots running, the revolution running, coming with the drums bumming. belongs to me. Boom, clack! Get back. Get your hands off my daughter. I got 6 women, 1 wife, 5 girls, and I'll kill you dead for what belongs to me. Boom, clack. Get back. Get your hands off my daughter. Bow! And 1 shot to the gluteus maximus. And as I lie there in the hospital bed, the summer of 57 leans inclined from the perpendicular and rested against my strong side and said, do you know where you come from? Do you know who you are? Stretch beyond the mental paralysis and see the beauty in being. Hear the tides of tribes marching outside the realms of illusion. America's fatality exists in confusion. Born of a woman but afraid to be. Tossed to and fro like definitions of democracy. Do you know who you are? Do you know where you come from? The history in her eyes restored speech, and just when I was about to speak, she said, breathe. Who but you can dance on clouds while raining on trees? Breathe. Who but you can mother the earth and birth seed? Breathe. Think. Your soil is waiting to breathe, waiting on the fake you to leave. Take flight and allow life to proceed, and the proceeds benefit the higher being. Don't let technology veil your view. Be who you came to do. Breathe. Breathe. How will you acknowledge the day if you abort the night? Breathe. Resurrect yourself, make yourself believe. Breathe. You can't see the forest because you are the trees. Breathe. Cry if you have to. Even Jesus wept for me. Breathe. Be who you were born to be. A country in relation to colonies, a soldier in the war of responsibility, the plant that embodies reality, the womb in which life is conceived. Breathe. 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 Life. Children are waiting for mommies. Breathe.
Thank you, Jason. I must say, I want to just explain to you about being Poet Laureate. Mother Teresa says we can't do great things. We can only do small things with great love. And I don't think being Poet Laureate means that you're a great poet. It means that you do poetry with great love. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight and to do poetry with you and feel poetry with you. And it, as Eunice has said, it is a wonderful, wonderful night, and I'm very privileged to be here. I'm going to read a poem of Etheridge Knight's called The Idea of Ancestry. 1. Taped to the wall of my cell are 47 pictures, 47 black faces, my father, mother, grandmothers, 1 dead, grandfathers, both dead, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, cousins, first and second, nieces and nephews. They stare across the space at me sprawling on my bunk. I know their dark eyes, they know mine. I know their style, they know mine. I am all of them, they are all of me. They are farmers, I am a thief. I am me, they are thee. I have at one time or another been in love with my mother, 1 grandmother, 2 sisters, 2 aunts, 1 went to the asylum, and 5 cousins. I am now in love with a 7-year-old niece. She sends me letters in large block print, and her picture is the only one that smiles at me. I have the same name as 1 grandfather, 3 cousins, 3 nephews, and 1 uncle. The uncle disappeared when he was 15, just took off and caught a freight, they say. He's discussed each year when the family has a reunion. He causes uneasiness in the clan. He is an empty space. My father's mother, who is 93 and who keeps the family Bible with everybody's birth dates and death dates, always mentions him. There is no place in her Bible for whereabouts unknown. 2. Each fall, the graves of my grandfathers call me. The brown hills and red gullies of Mississippi send out their electric messages, galvanize my genes. Last year, like a salmon quitting the cold ocean, leaping and bucking up his birth stream, I hitchhiked my way from L.A. with 16 caps in my pocket and a monkey on my back. I almost kicked it with the kinfolk. I walked barefoot in my grandmother's backyard. I smelled the old land and the woods. I sipped corn whiskey from fruit jars with the men. I flirted with the women. I had a ball till the caps ran out and my habit came down. That night I looked at my grandmother and split. My guts were screaming for junk, but I was almost contented. I had almost caught up with me. The next day in Memphis, I cracked a croaker's crib for a fix. This year, there's a gray stone wall damming up my stream. And when the falling leaves stir my jeans, I pace my cell or flop on my bunk and stare at 47 faces across the space. I am all of them. They are all of me. I am me. They are thee. And I have no children to float in the space in between. I think the reason I like that poem is, as Jason said in some of his advertising of this, is that Etheridge is so concrete. I think he must have just naturally been a concrete thinker, but in his poems he is so concrete, and he paints such a vivid picture for you. And he makes you see things that you wouldn't have the opportunity to see otherwise. And I'm not saying that I can fully understand Etheridge, but I can understand the things in Etheridge's life better because Etheridge wrote what he wrote, because it has given me some insight into his world. But no matter how concrete we are, we don't really relate as a poet unless we are also universal. And to me, that's what's so wonderful about this poem, is that it is concrete and yet it is totally universal. Because whether the faces that we see on the wall are black faces, or whether they're white faces, or whether there are no faces there at all, ancestry indeed does affect all of us. And so it is an extremely universal poem. I myself tend to be very much of an abstract thinker, but I wanted to share a little poem of mine with you that is on ancestry, a poem on ancestry, and this is called Watson Words. It's about DNA, which of course is an ancestry that we all share. And it's really about all of us being ancestors, all of us sharing ancestors. Aboriginal, Abba, ties, constant, ancestral, arc, genetic, long connected, Africa. Terra, visit, again, lyric, galactic vine, cosmic array.
Yeah, peace and love. It's an honor to be here among so many lovers of the word and so many people who express the word and is keeping the tradition of the word, the power of the word going. It was hard for me to pick a poem because I love Etheridge. I had the opportunity to meet and talk with him before he passed. And it was just difficult, but I did pick a poem. But before I do his poem, I'd like to go ahead and do the one that I wrote and dedicated to him. As a student at IUPUI, I wanted to be a journalist. I took a poetry class as part of my curriculum, and I can't remember the instructor's name, but he was a short, pudgy man. He was very passionate about the word. And he had us do assignments where we would go write a poem on a certain theme or subject, and we had to come back and we would pass the poem to someone else randomly, and they would correct the poem, if you will, or mark question marks or explanation marks as to what they understood, didn't understand. Well, every time my poems came back, they were full of marks. They were so full of marks, I felt scarred. And I could not, I just couldn't understand why I couldn't be understood. And so I, in my sophomore year in college, decided that I was going to quit, that maybe writing wasn't for me and I needed to find another major. Well, we took a field trip, and I never will forget, it was to 36 in Pennsylvania to meet Etheridge Knight. And I was so excited because I had read Hard Rock, and I loved that poem. And so we went in, and of course he didn't look anything like I had imagined. But he was very down, very cool, very laid back, and he was earthy and friendly. Well, I introduced myself, and so did all the other students, and then I found my way to the couch and sat down because I had already decided I was going to quit, and and there was no need to get too deep. Well, he came and sat beside me, and without me ever asking or saying anything about myself, Etheridge said, they don't understand, they don't always understand the oralness of the word. And for me, everything aligned. It was at that moment that I understood. And he gave me back my poems. So I wrote this for him. You saved my poem. I was word, bird in flight on a downward spin. And you caught me. Rush wind, you saved my poems from abortion, abuse, sonic shackles and poetic cages, chartered trips, unrhythmic flows, uninvited labels, maybe racist code. You saved my poems from quitting, from cultural misunderstanding, unappointed judges, unable to keep its beat, but you gave me back my drum with bass deep. Lent me a lesson, said black boys don't leap like the white boys do. Yeah, you saw my glaring that I had enough too soon, and you snatched my spirit, kissed it with poetic passion, and made me promising again. You saved my poem. You saved my poem.
All right.
The poem that I ended up picking had to do with war. And this poem was powerful because its truth still rings so loud, so clear. The title of the poem is called A Poem on the Middle East Peace Process. Israel, Allah Bijan begins. Oh, we love peace, we love peace. and all yakety, yakety, yakety. That's why we drove the Palestinians off their land with the help of America and England's evil hand. And all yakety, yak, yak, yak. In the Gaza Strip, an Arab boy sleeps, his knees drawn up to his chest and his hands cup his crotch. He dreams of grenades, machine guns, and prayers to Allah. An Israeli boy sleeps in Tel Aviv, and he dreams of tales told to him by his grandfather of Nazi goose stepping on cobblestones and lampshades made of Jewish skin, of Jewish women and Jewish men naked and torn. He too dreams of the blooming promised land and killing Arabs at his rabbi's command. And the peacemakers, all the peacemakers give guns to one and bombs to the other, all contrary to the cries of the mother.
All right. Yeah. The African book.
This be for E9.
Oh.
I studied haiku in the Free People's Workshop with Etheridge Knight, who taught that haiku should not be controlled language. The elegance of the 575 form should be so subtle that it could easily be a mere dialogue, like one between the mentor, the muse, and the friend. Etheridge wrote on the back of his first book, "I died in Korea from a shrapnel wound, and narcotics rescued me. I died in 1960 from a prison sentence, and poetry brought me back to life." There are a lot of poets in here who love poetry, but can't say that poetry brought them back to life. So this be for E9. Detoxing down in rehab for the last time, please. A lot of y'all don't know, let me say a lot of y'all do know. At the Jazz Poetry Session, this was the group that played behind Etheridge, Lennon Clark, Carl Hines. It wasn't Peter, but we're glad Peter's here. What I read at first was something Etheridge had taught me. It was a haiku. I studied haiku. All those are 575 form. Why are they 575? Because to make jazz swing in 17 syllables ain't no square poet's job. But Etheridge, like, you don't know, I have 2-hour conversations with myself every day about Etheridge, it seems. I left and I went to Washington, D.C. I moved from the city. Because a lot of things, Etheridge didn't affect my poetry, Etheridge affected my life. I can remember sitting in here, Dave and everybody, us coming in, talk poetry after the workshops. I replay things we did that I might have done wrong, that I could have done over, and want to do again and can't. I miss Etheridge. One of the things too is I can remember sitting right across this other building where Etheridge used to live. We call it the Triple Nickel. Okay? And the only reason why I'll tell the story because I've already talked to Eunice before. Because usually I wouldn't even say the story. One of the conversations I had with him in his last years, we talked a lot about family. And I won't give you all the details, but I know that he loved his family. Okay? I was single at the time. My mom does genealogy. And I read the 47 pictures. Okay? I see my name on the genealogy and I'm alone. I've got a cousin that just came out of jail and I didn't write to him. Okay? I know that 47 pictures on that wall means 47 people sent a letter to him with that picture in it that they loved him. I had to get married. I had to do something. I couldn't be alone. Okay? Because every time I walked in Indianapolis, I felt alone. And I had a lady live way away, so I had to get married. But this be for E. Knight. Detoxing down to rehab for the last time, please. The version that he knew, keeping on with the blues, was, yes, ice would be nice. Just cool water before he died. He just came for jazz. I'm sorry, I had to revise it. After Etheridge's death, to honor him, instead of challenge and struggle to die clean. So I changed the words to the haiku. In here, they want ice water. This be for E. Knight, detoxing down to rehab. For the last time, please. Yes, ice would be nice. Just 12 steps on cool water. He just came here for the jazz. To make jazz swing. In 17 syllables, ain't no square points job. Keep on going on, keep on. Haikus from Etheridge. The piano man. It's staying at 3 p.m. His songs drop like plums. Eastern Guard Tower. Glinting sunset. Convicts rest. Like lizards on a rock. Making jazz swing. Making jazz swing. Making jazz swing in 17 syllables. Oh, it's not a square voice job. To write. To write. Blues. Song. Is to regiment riots. And pluck gems from the grave. Making jazz swing. In 17 syllables. Is not a square poet's job. Woo! It's harder than you think. It's harder than you think. This week we unite.
Things for y'all this evening. The first one is Etheridge's famous elegy for Malcolm X, and I'd like to dedicate this reading to Ms. Eunice Knight Bowens, who has done so much to keep the flame alive. For Malcolm, a year after. Compose for red, a proper verse, adhere to foot and strict I am, control the burst of angry words, or they might boil and break the dam, or they might boil and overflow, and drench me, drown me, drive me mad. So swear no oath, so shed no tear, and sing no song blue Baptist sad, evoke no image, stir no flame, and spin no yarn across the air, make empty Anglo tea-lace words, make them dead white and dry bone bare. Compose a verse for Malcolm man, and make it rhyme and make it prim. The verse will die as all men do, but not the memory of him. Death might come singing sweet like seed, or knocking like the old folks say. The moon and stars may pass away, but not the anger of that day. I also just wanted to say that, like everyone else, I feel really good about being here, and I'm honored to be invited. And now I'd like to do a little poem of my own, a kind of anti-war poem. I noticed some years ago that a lot of war memorials have a woman on them, and I think that's because the powers that be want to make war seem gentler than it is. So this is about Miss Victory, on Monument Circle. Miss Victory. You can't fool us, Miss Victory. Queening it over the roofs of the city, one hip swishing toward the long sword, you cock like a walking stick between your calves. Girlfriend, who welded that eagle to your scalp and posed you with a liberty torch like some bridesmaid's lucky catch? Your waist isn't wasp, there's no rumble seat festooning your behind. In the lingo of the parlor, not the brawl, you remind us how we pussy whip the South. You trying to start something? Your pectorals are rippling through your dress, and you squared your Julius Caesar jaw. To those shoppers down below, you're just a mannequin of camp. No blood stipples your bronze bodice, the polished cones of your breasts. Truth is, you make war a costume drama, a tease, your left hand flaming, the other hugging the hilt.
The sun rose today and the sun went down over the trees beyond the river. No crashing thunder, no jagged lightning flashed my 44 years across the heavens. I am here. I am alone. With the Indianapolis News, sitting under this Indiana sky, I lean against a gravestone and feel the warm wine on my tongue. My eyes move along the corridors of the stars, searching for a sign, for a certainty as definite as a cold concrete pressing against my back. Still the stars mock me, and the moon is my judge, but only the moon. 'Cause I ain't screwed no thumbs, no dropped no bombs. though my name is naughty to the ears of some. And I ain't revealed the secrets of my brothers, though my balls have been pinched and my back's been scarred. And I ain't never stopped loving no one. Oh, I never stopped loving no one. Thank you. I got a piece of my own to read, think about the connection. So the murder rate was going up, and my wife and I moved here. And you hear me talking about 80 and being on 80 killings and counting, and now we're in the hundreds. So, I had to start thinking somewhere. So you'll, think back with me to July. This is called Bodies. It's for Indianapolis. The afternoon after 6 murders stain the circle, I drive through the quarter that lets the most blood, 81 killings and counting. Take 13 and E, I stop for the cheapest gas I've seen since moving to my new bruised city. Pay with 2 5s inside before pumping. Hold the outdoor for a man and woman. 3 children, one atop the father's shoulders. The mother last through. She sighs, thank you, like she's been waiting for someone to hold the door much longer than today. 82 killings and counting. Broken sheriff and weary mayor raise up voices like shaking fists cry, we declare war, warning criminals to watch their step. Their threats have as much effect as a death penalty on murder. Their faces stay straight while inside their spirits die. 83 killings and counting. How will I do justice to this in the city of Etheridge? Folktale poet riding shotgun and paperback, wanting to speak, do more than breathe in black and white. How do I, a teacher of young, voice caught between corner and classroom, sing these songs in the city of Mari? The frequency of gunshots, smoke, and silence. 84 killings, and I will not say if the return of my chest pain at this time of falling bodies is science or coincidence. Who can tell the difference? If my life is breathing over my shoulder as I write this, she is already mad at my secret, the pain I don't speak, and in the time it takes for her to take issue with what I hide. My secret will feel hopelessly small in the shadow of another red headline. Peace.
It was actually the poem that we reprinted and handed out that night. It's called We Free Singers Be.
Yes. All right.
Starts with a little note from Father Boniface Hardin over at Martin University. If we didn't have music, dancers would be soldiers too, holding guns in their arms instead of each other. We free singers be, sometimes swimming in the music like porpoises playing in the sea. We free singers be, come agitators at times, become eagles circling the sun, hurling stones at hunters, become scavengers cracking eggs in the palm of our hands. Remember, oh do you remember the days of the raging fires when I clenched my teeth in my sleep and refused to speak in the daylight hours? We free singers be, baby. Hot tall walkers, high steppers, hip shakers, we free singers be. Still waters sometimes too. Remember, oh do you remember the days when children held our hands and danced around us in circles and we laughed in the sun? Remember, oh do you remember how we slept in the shade of the trees and woke trembling in the darkness? We free singers be, voyagers and sing of cities with straight streets and mountains piercing the moon and rivers that never run dry. Remember, oh do you remember the snow falling on Broadway and the soldiers marching through the icy streets with blood on their coat sleeves? Remember, oh do you remember how we left the warm movie house, turned up our collars and rode the subway home? We free singers be, baby. We free singers be. Well, I don't sing as well as Etheridge, but here's a singing poem of my own called Road Song.
Oh, road song.
Car unroofed to spring skies blue, this lark, my voice radiofied, roars the is owned only by a tire whir and engine girder. The tune too unmatters, so long as it soars. Trust the need for lows as well as highs. The side road sideways yawing and plain old caterwauling. My jaw aches with longing for the singing, just the song. Then, radio off, second verses, unrehearsals. Airwaves empty hole leaves nonsense whirls. Encore after encore. Scat, they used to scat and rap with dance and tap. Now this road sound, rarefied, airs in the open windowed mirror to my roadward resistance, free, free soul.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, the dream of every poem, no matter how good its own music, its own internal music, the dream of every poem, whether the poet knows it or not, is to be joined to music made by the likes of Larry on drums, Peter on bass, and Carl on piano. Let's give it up for them.
Hey, Norbert.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and Carl is a poet, and you're going to hear something from him later. So we got to go in all directions and all ways. Yeah. And we got to thank once again Eunice Nightbones and her sister Janice for keeping this all alive. And I'm going to tell you what, I did not meet Etheridge Knight. I'm from southern Indiana. I grew up in Jasper, in DuBois County, in Hill Country, and I taught around with my wife for 34 years around New York. And New York ain't got nothing on Indianapolis because in 34 years I was never part of anything as good as this night here at the Chatterbox. Let's hear it for the Chatterbox. Woo-hoo! Okay, I want to do two poems that are blues-based, and the first one is by Etheridge. And the first time I ever did anything that combined poetry and jazz, it was right here, and Larry was part of it. And we did a poem that's called A Poem for Myself by Etheridge, or Blues for a Mississippi Black Boy. And I love the blues, and I learned more about poetry from the old blues masters than I ever learned from T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound. A poem for myself. I was born in Mississippi. I walked barefooted through the mud. Born black in Mississippi. Walked barefooted through the mud. But when I reached the age of 12, I left that place for good. Said my daddy chopped cotton and he drank his liquor straight. When I left that Sunday morning, he was leaning on the barnyard gate. Left her standing in the yard with the sun shining in her eyes. And I headed north as straight as a wild goose flies. I've been to Detroit and Chicago, been to New York City too. I've been to Detroit and Chicago, been to New York City too. Said I done strolled all those funky avenues. I'm still the same old black boy with the same old blues. Yeah, going back to Mississippi, this time to stay for good. Going back to Mississippi, this time to stay for good. Gonna be free in Mississippi or dead in the Mississippi mud. Gonna be free in Mississippi or dead in the Mississippi mud. It's really a privilege to serve with Eunice and Karen Kovacic and Miss Mary and others, J.L. Cotto on the board of Etheridge Night Inc. And Eunice has done such a fantastic job. She is a force of nature, you know. She's keeping the word, the holy word of Etheridge, alive here in Indianapolis for the rest of the world. And last spring, for the Etheridge Night Festival, we had a wonderful guest poet named Allison Joseph. And between sessions, Eunice took me and Allison out to Crown Hill Cemetery to stand at Etheridge's grave. And you know, I never met Etheridge, but I really feel his spirit here tonight. He is so alive inside all of us. And the musicians have done it, and the poets have done it, and you have done it. And when Eunice took me with Allison to the grave, it triggered a poem that I'd been meaning to write. And we live right around the corner from here, and my wife and I, Catherine, we walk every day down Mass Avenue, and we walk past the Barton Towers. And I wasn't aware of it until Eunice told me. She said Etheridge died at 555 Mass Avenue. 555 Mass Avenue, which building is that? She said, the Barton Towers. So that's right down here. And when we got the idea to do a night for Etheridge here, Eunice said, you know, I used to come here so often when Etheridge did the Free People's Workshops and read poetry here. So it's so right. And so I wrote a poem then out of that experience of going to Crown Hill Cemetery. It's called Etheridge Night's Blues. And Eunice, you don't know it, but it's dedicated for Eunice Knight Bowens. Etheridge Night's Blues. Behind bars, you found your voice and sang your down-home Mississippi blues about the avenue that was Indiana. And you dug Wes Montgomery's guitar and sang the beauty of the sisters, but felt the pain of the wound inflicted in Korea that led to the holes in your arms. When I walk past the Barton Towers at 555 Mass Avenue, where you lived the last years of your life and passed into spirit when your cells kept exploding, I think of you on the 13th floor looking out at the exotic Marat Temple, where I heard B.B. King's guitar hold its drawn-out breath for such a gut-bucket street singer as you. And at the red brick German Athenaeum that was almost demolished for a parking lot, until it resurrected like the phoenix where beer garden music rocks the summer night. Indiana and Mass Avenue, as you knew them, may be gone. But when Sister Eunice took me and Sister Poet Allison to stand at your grave in Crown Hill Cemetery, as her persistent way of keeping your memory, your legacy, and your song alive, I felt your presence and knew you, a free singer, still be. Brother, I love your poems, Etheridge Night. I come to honor your spirit that will never die. I say your song will always live and the blues shall never die. I say your song will always live and the blues will never die. Woohoo! Thank you.
How you doing this evening? And the crew, you all know who you are. Well, I had the pleasure and honor of reading some of Etheridge's poetry because prior to being introduced to his poetry, I didn't have a great respect for poetry, but once I began to read his words, I could actually feel them. And it definitely influenced me. And actually, I'm a storyteller, and Eunice had asked me to do a couple of plays where we depicted the life of Etheridge and so forth. So I think the last time I did it, I've been doing it for several years, and people say, oh yeah, well, Kabir is doing a good job. But the last time, there was a complaint. I portrayed Etheridge when he went to the military and I came back. So we're on the stage, you see, and I walked out there and I had all this gray in my beard. They said, boy, he just didn't look like a young man anymore. He just didn't look like a young man. So I no longer look like the younger Etheridge, so I'm the older Etheridge now.
Go for it.
I like to, oh yeah, that's right. I like to share a poem entitled Upon Your Leaving. And we know that, okay, how's that?
That's good.
A little bit more volume? Is that what you need? All right, I'll give you a little bit more volume then. So I'm going to read a poem that's entitled Upon Your Leaving. And we know that Etheridge influenced and was influenced by many women in his life. We know Gwendolyn Brooks. And this one is Upon Your Leaving for Sonia. So maybe some of you ladies can feel Etheridge in this one here. Night, and in the warm blackness, your woman smell fills the room. And our rivers flow together, become one. My love's patterns, our sweat-drenched bellies made flat cracks as we kissed, like sea waves lapping against the shore rocks, rising, rolling, and sliding back. And your sighs, softly calling my name, became love songs, child, woman songs, old as 1,000 years, new as a few smiles you release like sacred doves. And I fell asleep, ashamed of my glow, of my halo, and ignoring them who waited below to take you away when the sun rose. Day. And the sunlight playing in the green leaves above us fell across your face, traced the tears in your eyes and love patterns in the wet grass. And as they waited and sighed in triumphant patience to take you away, I begged you to stay. But Etheridge, you said, I don't know what to do. And the love patterns shifted and shimmered in your eyes. And after they had taken you and gone, the day turned stark white, bleak, barren like the Nordic landscape. I turned and entered the empty house and fell on the floor, laughing, trying to fill the spaces your love had left, knowing that we would not remain apart long. Our rivers had flowed together. We are one and are strong.
When I began working in this city in 1978, I was working the night shift. And you were going around reading at coffee houses. And on my days off, I spent with my family. I didn't go see you. I could kick myself now. Please forgive me. Earlier, Michael Collins said that poetry saved his life. and I can testify that in my case it was true. At the time, it was a low point in my life. I had a heart attack. My relationships are bad. My work had turned sour. But I began writing. I began reading you, Etheridge. And you're one of the reasons I'm alive today. I don't know where you are now, but I'm sure your soul is singing. This is one of your songs. It's called Belly Song. And I must admit that the sea in you has sung to the sea in me. And I must admit that the sea in me has fallen in love with the sea in you. Because you have made something out of the sea that nearly swallowed you. And this poem I give to you. This poem is a song I sing to you from the bottom of the sea in my belly. This poem is a song about feelings, about the bone of feeling, about the stone of feeling, and the feather of feeling. This poem is a death chant and a gravestone and a prayer for the dead, for young Jackie Robinson, a moving black warrior who walked among us with a wide stride and heavy heels moving through the blood and mud and shit of Vietnam. Moving through the blood and mud and dope of America. For Jackie, who was a song and a stone and a feather of feeling, now dead and gone in this month of love. This poem is for me and the days that lay in the back of my mind when the sea rose up to swallow me, and the streets I walked were lonely streets, were stone cold streets. This poem is for me and the nights when I wrapped my feelings in a sheet of ice and stared at the stars through iron bars and cried in the middle of my eyes. This poem is for me and my woman, and yesterdays when she opened to me like a flower, but I fell on her like a stone. I fell on her like a stone. And now, in my 40th year, I have come here to this house of feelings, to this singing sea. And I must admit that the sea in me has fallen in love with the sea in you. Because the sea that now sings in you is the same sea that nearly swallowed you, and me too. Thank you, Etheridge.
I bring her up here. Please give a big hand for Rohanna McCormick.
I knew Etheridge's poems before I met Etheridge, but when I met Etheridge, I started to really memorize his poems, and I can't say one now because I guess I met him in the 80s, and by golly, I'm almost 80 myself. But and I thought, hey, you know, I'm with the Writers Center. I helped organize the Writers Center with Jim Powell and all those wonderful people, and they always had great parties and a great sense of community. And I'm hoping we can return the Writers Center to that kind of community. Because I'll tell you one thing. Etheridge and his friends were always invited to the Writers Center and the parties that were happening in the beginning. And I said, okay, if he wasn't invited, he'd crash the party. So when I heard that Etheridge, that this was going on, I said, oh, no, I'm not invited, but I'm going to crash the party. Yeah. And I tell you what, Etheridge never took the easy way out. You know, so I dedicate this poem that I wrote for him, about him, and he knew all the intellectual stuff, but he didn't write about it. But I write about it a little bit because I did like philosophy and stuff, but he was a real philosopher, not just in the head, but in life. Okay, the easy way out is not always prudent. Nerves that puppet us by habit to dance that same tired show can also strangle with a little tightening. Like the time I tangled with Kant and got caught in that web of alts, I almost choked. I still have a little cough. The next time I meet a dialectic, Freud, Marx, Hegel, Aquinas, I'll know all the ropes and a few of the slip knots. Now, if you have a choice between swallowing a pill or a camel, be careful. The pill may go down easier, but by God, if you swallow the camel, you know you're stuck with that hump on your back.
Okay. What's the time?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Carl.
Okay. I knew Etheridge, but knowing a cat like that is not always a lot of fun. I would imagine knowing Etheridge would have been similar to knowing a person like Charlie Parker.
All right, yes.
The moments of brilliance, moments of you want to strangle him. This was a poem that I wrote in one of those moments when I wanted to strangle him. We needed him, Mari and I. We needed his fresh voice, which had been so missing from our lives since Malcolm. So we were there in a way when he came home. But freedom must be frightening when slavery is all you've known. He said it himself. Can anything good come out of there? So we should have been prepared then when our new black knight hopped up on his white horse and galloped right on away from us.
Yeah.
I was one of the few people who happened to be at Etheridge. Okay, which one?
Right here, the big one. Big one.
I was one of the few people who happened to be at Etheridge's wedding to Sonia Sanchez. So there was Mari, Larry, and Neil, and that's all I can remember right now. And I took some photographs which I can't find for any. Okay, trying to.
Closer. Step up a little bit.
Step up a little
That's
bit.
it. That does it. Yeah, one.
Okay, gotcha.
That's it.
All right, I try to keep my poems open. like the X in algebra. They can apply.
Wait a minute. Stop. We can't hear back here.
We'll write it down.
Step right into the mic. Okay, can you hear now? All right. Not yet.
That's as good as it can get.
Someone said that's as good as it's going to get. All right, I'll try my best. Try to keep my poems open, like X and algebra. You can apply it to whatever situation that you think applies. It may apply to that situation, or it may apply to other situations. So here's a poem that, now that he's safely dead, let us praise him. Build monuments to his glory, sing hosannas to his name. Dead men make such convenient heroes. They cannot rise to challenge the images that we would fashion from their lives. And besides, it is easier to build monuments than to make a better world. So now that he is safely dead, we would, with eased consciences, will teach our children that he was a great man, knowing that the cause for which he lived is still a cause, and the dream for which he died is still a dream. Thank you.
Yeah. Paul, could you tell us for that song? Could you tell them? I think Paul, David Baker piece, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell people about it?
That piece, David, was put to music by David Baker. It's been widely reprinted in many places. Okay, thank you.
All right, yeah.
Done left me, done packed up and split. And I, with no way to make her come back. And everywhere the world is bare, bright bone white crystal sand glistens, dope death dead dying and jiving drove her away. Made her take her laughter and her smiles and her softness and her midnight sighs. Fuck Coltrane. Fuck Coltrane and music and clouds drifting in the sky. Fuck the sea and trees and sky and the birds. Fuck alligators and all the animals that roam the earth. Fuck Marx and Mao. Fuck Fidel and Nkrumah and democracy and communism. Fuck smack and pot and red ripe tomatoes. Fuck Joseph. Fuck Mary. Fuck God, Jesus and all the disciples. Fuck Fanon, Nixon and Malcolm. Fuck the revolution. Fuck freedom. Fuck the whole motherfucking thing. All I want now is my woman back, so my soul can sing.
Thank you.